So most of you would have seen the interview with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle by Oprah Winfrey. If you hadn't seen it, you've certainly read about it by now. And in that interview, they spoke about the pain and anguish at the hands of their own family and how they were treated. The issues of race came up quite prominently, and also mental health. But two of the most damning allegations were that Meghan's pleas for help with mental health conditions were ignored by Buckingham Palace and the staff there. And also that before Prince Archie, their son, was born, there were concerns about the color of his skin. Now, a few hours later, the Queen, Her Majesty the Queen, issued a statement that was typical of the royal family, a three-line statement that read, "The whole family saddened to learn the full extent of how challenging the last few years have been for Harry and Meghan. The issues raised, particularly that of race, are concerning. While some recollections may vary, they are taken very seriously and will be addressed by the family privately. Harry, Meghan, and Archie will always be much loved family members." So, to speak to me about whether that statement was sufficient and how Buckingham Palace should have gone about it is Brendan Seary, who is the deputy editor of the Citizen newspaper, but he also writes a column on media and marketing. Now, Brendan, let me start by asking, did Buckingham Palace's statement go far enough, or should it have gone further?
I think the damage has already been done, and I think for the royals, it's a case of damned if you do and damned if you don't. I do think they hedge their bets with the quiet, little doubtful line they put in about different recollections of conversations, which in effect was basically hinting that there's more to the story than perhaps Harry and Meghan have let on. But I do think that this has forced the royal family to confront the reality of not only themselves, but in fact the whole colonial experience and racism. But did it go far enough? It's not going to go far enough to satisfy many people. It is going to go far enough to annoy the dyed-in-the-wool royal supporters who will lash out with lots of venom at Meghan. So it's a very difficult situation for them from a reputation management point of view, and from an image point of view as well.
What do you think the approach should have been like, given that sympathies will overwhelmingly be in Harry and Meghan's favour?
How should they have responded, given that the sympathies of many people are with Harry and Meghan? Well, I think that's also only half the picture. If one has a look at the performance of Piers Morgan in storming off the set of Good Morning Live, I think one would be naive to believe that a large section of mainly white Britain, the white UK, actually supports Buckingham Palace and is fairly antagonistic towards Harry and Meghan. But globally, and certainly amongst many we can call non-white people in the UK, the sympathy is with Harry and Meghan. And of course, it's very difficult for Buckingham Palace to respond. They have acknowledged that racism is an issue, and that in itself is a huge concession from these people who for years been above and beyond reproach from anybody. So I don't think they could have done anything else, but I do think it was a bit sneaky to qualify their apology, basically.
What lessons can organizations learn in terms of PR in the face of facing negative publicity?
What lessons can be learned from a PR perspective in terms of handling bad publicity? Well, I think that, first of all, you can't ignore something like Harry and Meghan because it's there, it's global. If you're in a similar situation as a company, it's also not a good thing to ignore bad publicity when it's building. However, the honest truth about it is that the media has a 15-second attention span. And sometimes if you as a company sit tight, the caravan moves on after the dogs have barked. So people might not even come back to you. So that's the one point. But I think just in general, you only look defensive, you only look guilty if you refuse to acknowledge something. And when you do it, you've got to acknowledge it frankly. And if you don't agree with it, you've got to come with your own facts, which are able to be substantiated. And you've got to actually construct a counter narrative which is truthful. Otherwise, you will be found out.
And Brendan, finally, if you were to be an advisor to the Queen, what would you be telling her right now?
If I were an advisor to the Queen, I would be telling her this is not going to go away. And she needs to make some sort of gesture of reconciliation to Meghan. Harry's in the background in this, he's also been hurt, but Meghan is clearly the person who is suffering, and it's not all in her head. And I think she needs to reach out, and they need to be seen to be getting together to talk. And the royal family needs to be less defensive. That's what I would tell her. Talk to your daughter-in-law. Talking doesn't hurt anybody. And you don't have to make that public, what you discuss, but at least make the meeting public.
Thanks for your insights, Brendan. One thing is for sure, the next season of The Crown is going to be lit. For more content like this, visit loudhousemedia.co.za. I'm Gesante Bade.